Val, and today we are going to be making this yarn wrapped rainbow. So I'm going to go over all the materials that we need today, and if you need to go get something, go quick and get that. We won't get started too quick. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with just some scrap cardboard. So if you have an old box, cereal box, you need something that's got some, stability to it. We're going to be wrapping it, so it needs to be a little bit thick, but you still need to be able to cut it. And then we have 5 colors of yarn, 5 different colors of yarn. And if you don't have 5 colors of yarn, if you only have 3 or 2, we just alternate the yarn colors. You just make decisions on how you want to do it, and I'll show you how we're going to divide our little arc after we cut it out. So we've got our yarn, and we've got some white pom-poms for our clouds. And if you don't have pom-poms, you could either just cut out some white paper in the shape of a cloud, or you could use cotton balls. Those are both some ideas. I also have a bowl here to make my arc for my rainbow. You can kind of see how it's about this big. So we're going to trace around it on our cardboard when we're ready to do that. So if you have a bowl or something that you can trace around, it's about 6 or 7 inches. It can be smaller, it can be a little bigger. Don't go too big or you'll be wrapping for a long time. So I've got a pencil to trace around my bowl, and I've got a scissors to cut. So I just wanted to remind you guys that there's a link in the chat for supplies if you need to see that. And then to use the Q&A for questions. If you have questions, use the Q&A. And then this is also being recorded, so you'll also be able to find the link to review this video that we're doing. If you want to watch it again or catch up or do it again tomorrow, you can go on the recorded video and watch what we did today. So I'm going to get started. We're going to start with our cardboard. Just move everything else out of the way.
We have a question, Val.
Yes.
For some people who say that they do not have cardboard, they're wondering if construction paper or card would work.
Or what?
Or cardstock.
Cardstock might work. Construction paper will not work for wrapping. It's too flimsy. Cardstock, you can try it. It might be a little flimsy. If you want to follow what we're doing and not wrap, you can always use markers. You can color your rainbow with markers. If all you have is construction paper, you can follow all our instructions for making the rainbow, and then instead of wrapping the yarn around it, you can color it in instead. Markers or crayons or colored pencils would work. Okay? All right, so I'm going to put my bowl about maybe a little bit more than halfway onto my cardboard, and I'm going to trace around the outside of it with my pencil. And I'm going to remove that. So now you can see I have my first arc. And then I'm just eyeballing it, so it's not an exact. I'm going to figure out how wide I want my rainbow to be, and then I'm just going to follow that same arc, and I'm going to sketch my second line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of give yourself a guideline to go by. Okay? I'm going to give you guys a minute to do that, and then we're going to cut that out of the cardboard. And I'm cutting circles out of something that's kind of stiff. I like to cut away the cardboard as I go because sometimes it gets in your way. Or you can fold it down. Like I have corrugated cardboard, the kind that comes on a box, like a shipping box. And it has lines in it so it can bend. So you could kind of do that. Now the stiffer your cardboard, the harder it's going to be to cut. So just take your time. Sometimes it's a little hard to cut a circle too. And I'm going to cut the other part out. Mine's a little uneven. I'm just going to trim it up. You can do that if you don't like your shape. You can adjust it with your scissors. So here's my arc, and you can see it's not perfect, but it'll be okay. It'll still be a pretty rainbow when we're done. If you get to this stage, and again, if you don't have yarn, you can color or paint your cardboard arch. So since I have 5 colors, I'm gonna just mark on my arch. I'm gonna divide it into 5 sections. And you know, they'll be close to even. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm gonna start at the top. This is my middle. So I'm gonna go a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, and that's gonna be my top color. Then I'm gonna find about halfway between here and here, and I'm gonna mark that, and halfway again, I'm gonna mark that. So that's going to be my general guideline for wrapping and changing colors. If you only have 2 colors and you could do every other color, you know, you can do pink and white, pink, that kind of a thing. Or if you have 3 colors, if you only have 1 color, just wrap the whole thing in 1 color. Okay? So I'm going to start with this pink yarn. That's going to be my first color on my rainbow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tie it onto, I'll show you what I'm doing here. I know my hands get in the way, but I'm going to tie it, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot, a tight knot, as tight as I can get it so it doesn't slide around. And then I'm going to slide it down, but you can adjust things as you're wrapping, okay? So you don't have to get it too perfect right away. And if you want, you can add a little dab of glue to the back. But just remember, if it's liquidy glue like that, you know, it might get on your fingers as you're wrapping. So you can do that if you want. So then you just start wrapping your yarn. And we're going to just go back and forth, so you don't have to be real perfect. Okay, so I'm just going around and going up and down. I just want to cover all the cardboard, and you know, I kind of want to make it look a little thick and fluffy. So I'm going to end up my wrapping where the next color is going to start, and I'm going to turn it over. I'm not going to cut my yarn yet. I'm going to give you guys a minute to wrap before we start the next color so that you can watch and see how I'm going to add the next color to it. Again, you can use glue, but the glue doesn't dry right away, and so that might be a little bit of a problem. So we're going to tie it. We're going to tie a knot to the next color. So I'm just going to cut, you know, I'm going to give myself a little length and get rid of my pink yarn. So I have extra yarn here. And I'm going to get my next color. I'm going to get it ready. I'm going to go ahead and just tie it together. And I'm just going to tie a knot. I want my knot to be at the back, on the back side of my rainbow. That should work. You guys see that? So I just tied those 2 colors together. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the extra yarn off so we don't get confused as to what we're wrapping. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and wrap like we just did with the pink. Just wrap. I'm going to stop at my next line, so that's kind of going to give me my guideline. So I'm just going to go back and forth Just keep wrapping and covering up the color of your base, your cardboard. You don't see any more brown or white, whatever color your cardboard is. It can be kind of thick if you want it to be. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So when you do who's ever heard of Roy G. Biv? Do you guys know what that is when it's in reference to a rainbow? Roy G. Biv means red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So that's usually when you see a real rainbow, that's what you're going to see is that order of colors. So we're kind of doing that with the colors that I have. So my red and Roy is going to be my pink. I don't have orange, so I'm going right to yellow. And then I'm going to go to green. And then I'm going to go to this kind of blue and then this other blue. So that's my interpretation of that. But if you had the actual colors of the rainbow of the yarn, that's the order that you would typically see a rainbow in real life. Okay, so now I'm going to cut off a little bit of my yellow, cut my yellow off and get rid of that. And I'm going to tie my green on because that's going to be my next color. I just have to find the end. There it is. So as you can see, I took some yarn off of the big skein, so it's easier to work with. So that might be a tip for you guys if you're working with a big skein of yarn. Big skein of yarn is the big bundle that it comes in that you buy it in. So I just made myself some more manageable little bundles. You could even make a ball if you wanted to. Okay, so I tied that one on and I'm going to cut off my extra yarn. And I'm going to start wrapping my green. Let's go back and forth. Okay, I'm going to end there. Cut it off. The next color. So pretty much it's the same technique to finish it. So just take your time as you're going along. Once you get the hang of tying your colors together and wrapping, it's pretty much all the technique you have to know. There's so many pretty colors of yarn. You can make some real fun things with the same technique. You can pretty much wrap any shape. You don't have to cut the arc like a rainbow. You could cut out your initial of your name, what your name starts with. My name starts with V, so I could cut out a V and then I could wrap that. That would be kind of fun. I might do that. Now that you know how to do this with the base and the yarn, you can pretty much make any shape you want and try wrapping it. You can make ornaments for your tree, your Christmas tree. You can make decorations to hang on your door, all kinds of things. Now I'm tying my last color on. Cutting off the ends. And wrapping. Might want to hold it when you get to the ends. You're going to be covering up the very ends with your cotton balls or your pom-poms or your whatever you're going to make your cloud out of. So if you end up having a little cardboard showing down there, it's not a problem. Might be easier than your yarn won't slide off the end. So you don't have to go all the way to the end. Ooh, I hope I don't get a knot in my yarn. That's the other thing about having a big long bundle of yarn. I have a mess here. Oh boy, I'm just going to be done with this color. I'm just going to cut my losses there. So when you finish this side, what you can do is you can try to slide your last piece of yarn underneath a couple of strands there and just pull it like that. And then if you do have some glue, if you want to go ahead and glue it, you can add a little glue to it. It'll eventually dry and won't come loose. Cut your extra length off and then just push that down on your glue like that. So there's my yarn wrapped rainbow. So now you can decide how you want to do your clouds. If you just have some paper, I'm going to show you. I've got a little piece of paper here, I'll show you. If you just have a piece of paper and you want to cut a cloud, just kind of cut a free-form shape oval with little scallops. See how I did that? And you can just glue that on if you want. It would look like that. Glue it onto the end. Or cotton balls are going to be bigger than these pom-poms, but if you have bigger pom-poms, it just depends on how many you want to put on there. I think I'm just going to put, well, I'm going to start with 3 across the bottom, and I'm going to use my glue. The liquid glue is going to work better than a glue stick, I think, with pom-poms, but you know, you can try it. If that's all you have, you can try it, or if you're an adult is nearby and they happen to have a hot glue gun, they could hot glue them on for you. Yeah, I'm going to do 5. Then it gives me a little poofier cloud. I'm going to do that on the other side. I went ahead and I did 3 on the bottom. Kind of push them down. Oh, that one needs more glue. And then I'm add more glue, dot of glue there, and a dot of glue there. And then I'm just going to squeeze them all together and push them down. Okay, this one does not want to stick. I don't know why. It just wants to absorb all my glue. There we go. Oh, see, that one didn't want to stick either. So there's my little clouds. Now, the last thing we can do if you want to do it is take a piece of yarn. I'm going to take a piece of green yarn because that's the color that's in the middle. If you want to make a hanger for it, you can just turn your rainbow over and try to slide. Can you take your scissors and try to push it through? See how I got it underneath one strand of yarn? And then just, you can tie it. Now, you can hang your rainbow. Hang it on your door, on your refrigerator. A little hanger. I'm going to cut the extra off. Just let your pom-poms or your cotton balls, let your clouds dry. There we go. Do we have any questions that I can answer for anybody? Is everybody keeping up okay?
A few people wondering what to do if they do not have the pom-poms. And so some people are wondering if they could use pipe cleaners or white yarn.
Sure. You could. I can show you if you want to make a little ball out of yarn. Like say you have white yarn and you want to make it sort of fluffy, you can take some yarn and wrap it around your fingers like, oh, let's say 20 times. I'm not counting, so, but that's pretty good. And then slide it off your fingers. Then you've got a little bundle like that, right? I'm gonna move this, lay it down. I'm gonna take another piece of yarn, same color. We're gonna wrap it around the middle of that bundle of yarn. Basically showing you how to make a DIY pom-pom, a yarn pom-pom. Tie a knot so it looks like that. Then you're going to cut open your loops. Put your scissors in through the loops of the yarn. Cut them open. All the loops open on both sides. Okay, so now that's a little kind of wild looking, but now I'm going to just trim it down. So I'm going to cut all the long ones. Try to get everything close to the same length. There we go. So now you can see I got a fluffy. If this was white, that would be a cute cloud. You could do that. You can, like I said, you can do it with paper like I showed you there when I cut out this piece of paper. Just cut out a scallopy oval, and then you can glue that on there too. If you have pipe cleaners, if you have like a white pipe cleaner, you can just bend it in the shape of a cloud, or you can bend it on itself. So pretend this is a pipe cleaner. You can just kind of bend it, you know, like that. So you have like one solid shape until you have a big enough shape, and then you can use that for a cloud. But you don't have to have a cloud. You can just have the rainbow. My pom-poms are not happy. Not sticking. There we go. All right.
We had a request if you could go over how to do the hanger part again.
Sure. I'll do it on this other one that I made earlier. I'll show you again. I took a piece of the same color yarn that I have in the middle, about, 6 or 8 inches long. And then you're going to take one of the ends and you're going to try to slide it under one of the strands of yarn. Tuck it under there. Come on. It's kind of hard to see when it's all the same color. And then pull it through. See how I now have it under one strand? It doesn't matter if it's 1 strand or 3 strands. It just needs to be tucked under there. And then you just pull the ends up so they're even. And tie a knot in the ends. Tie the 2 ends together, just like that. And just cut off the extra. Now we have a hanging rainbow.
And we have another question about some people are a little behind. They're just finishing up their wrapping.
Okay.
And they're wondering to end their rainbow if they should tie it off or if they should glue it.
They can either glue it or they can, if they have something to tie it to, you can tie it. Otherwise, I tucked it under. I tucked my end. Okay, I glued it too, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. This was my end right there. I cut it, so that's why it's short, but that was my end. And I'm going to push it under some of those strands that are already there, so it wants to stay under there, okay? So now it's under. So you can kind of see right there, it's going under those yarns. It's a dark color, I know, so it's kind of hard to see, but, and then I just added a little dab of glue there just to help keep it from coming out later after the glue's dry. Are there any other questions?
There's someone who wants to know if you could show how you did the pom-poms again, or the yarn pom-pom.
The yarn pom-pom? Yes, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get some white yarn. I think I have some right over here. Nope, I guess I don't. I will just use a color that I have. I will show you how to make your own pom-pom. And this, I'm making a little one because I was making it to be a cloud, but you can make a bigger one by wrapping it around something bigger than 2 fingers. You can wrap around 3 fingers or your hand. It'll make a bigger one. So I'm going to use 2 fingers because I'm going to make a cloud size pom-pom. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap yarn around my finger. Now don't pull it too tight or your fingers will turn blue. I'm going to wrap it around like 20 times. I want a nice fluffy pom-pom, maybe even more. And I'm not counting, I'm just eyeballing how thick I want it. So that looks good. And I'm going to slide it off my fingers. So now you have a big loop of yarn. Okay, I'm just going to lay it down, just like that. I'm going to cut a piece of yarn a few inches long. I'm going to lay it under my loops. And I'm going to tie it right around the middle. Just like that. Tie it nice and tight. That's what's going to hold your pom-pom together. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut open all your loops. On both sides. Then you kind of fluff it up. Then you can trim it down and you can make it shorter or longer. But you kind of want to make all the pieces of yarn about the same length. Just kind of keep turning it in your hand because it's going to be a ball. Fluff it with your fingers, and there you have a little pom-pom. It's pretty easy. It might just take a little practice to get those loops off your fingers and to keep them all still in a little bundle of loops and then tie it in the middle. So you might just have to try that a few times. If it comes undone, just rewrap it around your fingers and try again. That would make actually a really cute cloud. You can hang them, even hang them from your rainbow if you want. You can do all kinds of things. Once you have the power of the pom-pom, you can do anything.
All right, and just a reminder to everyone in this class that there is a link in the chat that has a link to where you can find this class. It will be posted in about 24 hours. And there's also links to the instructions for this craft if you want to do this again, or if you're a little bit behind, you can access it there.
All right. I hope everybody had fun. Got to make a nice little rainbow. I hope you try some other things, try some other shapes. Make some more pom-poms.
And I think that that's pretty much all the questions that we have.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for coming to Camp Creativity today. We'll see you next time. Bye.